Hey there, intellectuals. I want to take a moment to thank our incredible sponsor, NextStage AI. NextStage AI is transforming the way government contractors approach business development, capture management, and pipeline development activities. Whether you're a small startup or a seasoned prime contractor, NextStage AI is your central go to tool for streamlining your operations, optimizing proposal strategies, and enhancing competitive advantage. NextStage AI is a comprehensive CRM, pipeline, and BD tool designed to aid in the effective collaboration of the entire business development lifecycle, from your opportunity identification, qualification, capture, to proposal tracking. It empowers every organization to make faster and more informed bid decisions. Make NextStage AI your strategic partner. Visit NextStage AI to learn more and see how they can elevate your business. Thank you, Next Stage, for your unwavering support of Tan's Two Cents. Now, let's get to today's episode. Welcome to another episode of Tan's Two Cents podcast. Today's episode is titled Unlocking the Value of Micro Purchasing in a Business Development Strategy. We'll explore how small government purchases can open doors to significant opportunities. I'm your host, Ton Wilson, and today we have William Randolph, a renowned government acquisition expert, who will share his insights on this topic. William, thanks so much for joining us today, and say hello to our listeners who we call intellectuals and tell
Hello.
them a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, intellectuals, and thanks, Ton, for the opportunity. Again, William Randolph. I think the title that I like most is Retired Contracting Officer. I've done a lot of things, but 26 years in federal government, contracting officer by training, and had an opportunity to be selected into the senior executive service. So some of the most highest levels
Mhm.
of government acquisition opportunities inside of government. 10 years with the Department of the Navy, 5 years with the Marine Corps, and the last 9 or 10 of my career in various executive assignments within Department of Homeland Security.
Okay, so you've done both DoD, FedCiv,
Yeah.
seen the whole gamut. Did you serve at all in the military or?
I did a little bit right out of high school. Typical
Okay,
17-year-old know it all from a small town. It's like, I got this thing called
yeah,
life figured out. I'm out of here. So, and
yeah.
that was the Department of the Navy. So I went into the Navy right out of high school, did about 5 years, and then decided that I wanted to grab my undergrad degree, and then found government contracting.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your service. I appreciate that.
You're most welcome.
Um, So, William, before we dive into like the details, and there's so much that I want to unpack here with you today, I do want to get a little bit more background about your military and your previous government experience. What really influenced you? Was there anything in particular that influenced you to create Micromarket, which we will talk about here in a little bit?
Yes. So Ton, great question, and I've been thinking about how this idea came to be, and it really is a culmination of all the activities that I've done in my career. When I was in the military, I was a purchase card holder.
Hmm.
Used to call them impact cards. So this is way back,
Way back.
but the impact card, I started out as a card holder. And then when I started in federal government, I've been in various assignments where I've
Mm,
either had a card and used a card, or had P card members or users or holders on my staff. And then when I retired in 2016, I did a little bit of consulting. And one of the things that I did some consulting with is government agencies leveraging the P card, how to best maximize this as a value model. And then when I started my training and development company in 2019, my very first contract was a $4,800 credit card order. So there was the first dollar of revenue that came into the business was a purchase card. So I believe it took all of those experiences to see the value proposition of addressing services, primarily services in this space. I think it's an amazing place to start. When
mhm.
I did it by handshakes and people that I could see them in the face, but that's not scalable. So
Right.
that's the challenge that we were tackling, is how to be scalable. So yes, it is all of those experiences and all of those stops that culminated in this idea that I believe I'm the person to bring this idea to life.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. And you can tell from the excitement in your voice that there's a passion and there's a belief. And, you were a user and now you're trying to help other, contractors understand that, which I think is so valuable. We're not a how to type of podcast, but I think these are some conversations and discussions that I think a lot of contractors may not be aware of. And,
Sure.
you hear all the big things about soup and a lion and all the big, the big whales that are
Oasis.
out there.
It's,
Yeah,
yeah,
and that's just not possible when you're a small business and you're a startup. There's nothing wrong with, doing it gradually and building and building. So, um,
absolutely.
I think this is going to be a very interesting here discussion. So let's just dive into our first segment, which is really kind of understanding what micro purchasing is really all about. Let's start with the basics. I always like to start with a good foundation. So what is micro purchasing government contracting and why should government contractors and vendors care about it?
Absolutely. So let's start at the very beginning. The federal government, when it buys, last year's number was $774 billion that in FY23 the
Wow.
government purchases via contracts. So that's not grants, that's not transfer payments, loans. Those are all contracts and agreements. But the government buys in tiers, if you will,
Okay.
various tiers of activity, and at every tier there is a set of rules, regulations, guidance, and best practices. The first tier is basically from 1 cent to about $10,000. There's some nuances here and there,
Hmm.
but about 90% of the what is called the micro purchase threshold is at $10,000. So there's a set of rules and regulations, and in my opinion, these are the most favorable
Hmm.
for companies or individuals interested in starting government contracts. First thing, no SAM registration required. Okay, not even
I didn't
required.
realize that. I thought you had to. So,
Not even
yeah,
required at this level. Now, it's always encouraged because many
sure.
organizations use your SAM registration to do other things, but there is actually an exemption from micro purchases having to be having to have a SAM registration. So that's
Okay.
number one. At the next level is still the simplified, and that goes from 10,000 up to $250,000. But I always call that home court advantage for small businesses
Right.
because the rules are in your favor for small businesses up to $250,000. After $250,000, you have to, most of the times, you have to go swim with the sharks with everybody else. But at that first level and at the second level, micro purchases the first level, simplified acquisition at the second
Position.
level, those rules are in your favor. And that's the place to start. And that's the place to
Yeah.
learn the business, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, absolutely, and I think that's something that, there's others in our industry. I know Guy Timberlake, many, many others, who I consider colleagues and friends. They talk
Yes.
about it all the time. I even say that, everyone wants to say when they get into the business, "Well, I have to go get all these certifications, and I have to go get a GSA schedule, and I have to do." No, you
Not
don't.
even
You
required.
don't have, and
You
I would
don't.
actually say, don't do it yet, right? Like, don't
Absolutely.
do things like that until you're ready to
Absolutely.
build that past performance, to build that foundation, because I think it's so critical. You can't just skip steps, right? I think that there are very few companies, and I think it has to do with maybe the business that the executives were in. They maybe
Sure.
are, they came from government or they came from a bigger business and they start their business and get this subcontract, right? Like
Yes.
those are common, yes, but I would say something that you have every day.
Correct.
So
So the thing that I always say at this level is there is a crawl, walk, run,
walk.
fly model. Okay, I just believe in that. Now that's the journey that I took personally. We started with the crawl. Even with 26 years of experience, you'd be surprised how
Mhm.
much of that does not transfer over from a W
Right.
2 situation to an entrepreneurial situation. So there's truly a crawl, walk, run, fly. Now here's what I often see. I see lots of folks that are willing to take $10,000, $15,000 of your money to teach you how to fly. And I'm just not sure that if that happens to be successful, have you built the muscles to actually fly effectively? I think there's a journey. This crawl, walk, run, fly is really about getting your reps in and building the muscles so that when you actually go get the $1 million contract or the couple of $1 million contract, you actually have the capability, past performance, infrastructure, back office function. You speak the language, you know the mission, you understand government contracting theoretically, that you can be effective at that. Because the
Right.
worst thing you can do, there's two worst things in my opinion. The one is to win work and not be successful at it. You ruin your reputation. And then to win work and don't make any money, that you're losing money, that you win but you're not winning from an economics perspective. Those are my opinion are the two worst scenarios that you can find yourself in. And I think this crawl, walk, run, fly model helps you build the muscles so you don't find yourself in either one of those two situations.
Yeah, no, I like you are preaching to the choir here because I think that's the reason why I'm so critical of sole sourcing and set asides. Yes, they have their place.
They have their
Yes,
place.
they have a purpose. Yes, it is very advantageous for small businesses, especially if you've got a niche type of service or you've got a mission critical type of support services. For the average vanilla professional services type of company, right? I think those really kind of do them a disjustice because it really doesn't teach them that crawl, walk, run type of approach where you understand, um, flushed out all the risk, really kind of learn that muscle memory for how to do things, when to do
Yes.
certain things, what you should be concerned about. So, it's that whole adage that, you don't know what you don't know.